Hey everyone, today I'm going to take a look at StormOS, and so is my kitty Petey. As you probably noticed, Petey's with me. StormOS, developed by Ben Fitzpatrick and his team, just seems to get better every time I see it. I'm going to take a look at this. This is the new release, just came out here a couple days ago. It's got some new offerings and improvements, so I'm going to check those out. And I'm out at the StormOS website right at the moment, and I'm going to go ahead and download this and just fire it up and see what we got. And really nice looking website here too. And it's got some information here on StormOS and even a picture of Ben Fitzpatrick himself. So let me go ahead and get this. They put a lot of effort into this distro here to make it smaller, faster, and more reliable. The use of app images is another new thing, so I think that's really interesting. So I'm in the fresh install of StormOS right now, and I went ahead and installed this off camera. So now we got a complete install, and it looks like everything went just fine. Now in the live version is very complete. In fact, what you're looking at right now is almost exactly what you see in the live version. The only difference I see is that the installer is no longer there because we don't need it anymore. So here we are in the freshly installed version, and this looks really beautiful right off the bat. I gotta say, very polished look. I almost forgot I'm in an XFCE environment. But here we got our Whisker menu over here, and it's set up exactly the way I like it. I think me and Ben have the same kind of taste when it comes to the Whisker menu, because this is pretty much how I like it. Auto hover and so forth. And so as you can see by default here, we got a minimal install of software. Now during the install, you can specify software when you're doing an install, but if you just go ahead and click next without selecting anything, it will give you a default pretty much similar to what you're seeing here, which is great. So I'm going to open up down here. We got some favorites items here in the taskbar that are pinned. So I'm just going to open up our Thunar here, and you can see that we got by default a dark theme, which is nice. I'm liking it. And I'm also liking the logo here, the branded wallpaper. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to just take a little bit closer look at that real quick. So I pop over here into desktop settings. We can see a bunch of choices in wallpaper. And wow, it looks like Ben and his team has put a lot of effort in here and getting a variety of wallpapers and a lot of branded stuff here. So that is quite cool. So you can click here and just kind of explore the different wallpapers, and looks very nice. I like that too. That's quite cool there, StormOS. So yeah, I'm thinking a nice job there. Kind of a Stargate theme overall, I think. That's cool. A Stargate-ish theme, like here. We got this StormOS Familia. So how cool is that? I'm liking that. And also like the way the settings are here for the compositor settings. So as you can see, when I drag a window, it goes almost fully transparent, probably like 10% opacity. So I like that. That actually is a nice effect. I've never tried doing that myself in XFCE, and it's kind of nice to be back in XFCE again too. Good old XFCE. And of course, we got in our desktop settings here, we also got our desktop icons, which I think the icons are just right. I probably wouldn't even change the size. By default, they're set up here at 48 pixels. And I think the font size and everything else is just right. You also have the option to show icons only on the primary display if you wish, or to single click to activate items. Show confirmation after arranging icons, so you can do that too. A nice feature, in case you move something by mistake, you'll kind of be notified there. A+. Then we got our file launcher options here. So by default, none of these are checked, but if we wanted to add something in like our home folder, we could check that. And then it appears right here at the bottom on the fly in good old XFCE tradition. Same with the trash. If I want to put that rubbish bin in there, there it is. And nice looking icons too. I'm not quite sure what that is for the icons, but I'll just pop out of here real quick and let's take a look. So if we go over here into our Whisker menu and pop up into our settings and then go to appearance, then if I pop over to icons, we can see we're using the Cougar Dark. I thought they looked familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on what the name was. And then over here, our overall style is the Ed-weighted GTK3 Dark. We also have other ones to choose from, like Dark Black Ice, which is cool. StormOS or something. That's also very nice. Dark, then a light theme. I'm going to kind of stick with the GTK3 Dark. I like the dark in there. By default, your fonts is an Ubuntu regular at 11 pixels. Very cool. And then our menu buttons to show images and on buttons and menu items. So I like that as well. Excellent. So we're off to a great start here. And there's a really nice wallpaper. I think I'm going to stick with that one. That looks really great. I like the StormOS Familia and the Stargate up here. I have a similar one to that, except the symbols are different and the galaxy that it links to and specific planet that has no name. Yeah. Is one no one knows about. Almost. You did not hear that? Forget. Let's take a look at some of this stuff here. We got our Google browser, and I just want to look at the properties here and kind of see where it goes. So this is our desktop. If I go into Launcher, you can see it's going to an app image. So we got Google Chrome stable app image. Very interesting. So that is one thing that Ben had mentioned in his email to me, is that he's moving into app images here, and this is one of them. So if I launch that, then we should have a nice, safe version of Google Chrome installed. And if we pop down here into our taskbar and hit our terminal, we can see that we are running the 6.16 kernel. Pacman is our package manager because we are running Arch, just in case I forgot to mention that. And of course, XFCE 4.20, the latest XFCE version. And XFCE really, when it comes to floating window managers, is my personal favorite. You can also see that we're using the Cougar fonts or icons and the Noto Sans, Ubuntu, which we kind of all went through there before. And about 20 gigs assigned to this VM. So far, this is feeling quite snappy, I gotta admit. And here in Chrome, I'm just gonna maximize that real quick here, but I can't seem to find the bar here to get me into a file menu. So, yeah. I don't know what the deal is there. I'm right-clicking and nothing, so I guess I'll jump out of there. I guess that reminds me of why I don't use Chrome. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit got it again. Apparently, I clicked on that more than once. And so I had multiple instances open there, and that's what the problem was. Okay, so we're all good now. We got a URL bar, and for a minute I thought that Google did some crazy minimalist thing there that you had to go read the manual to figure out how to use it. But I was wrong. Sorry, Google. I wronged you. So here we got our menus and so forth. And if I can pop in here to help, it should be the latest version, which is 139.0.7258.154. Official build. So very good. All right, we got our tabs, we got our menu items, and all the other cool stuff. So I'm happy now. All is right in the universe. So I believe all of these here are probably app images that are installed, even only Office, I would say. So if I hit Edit Launcher here and just pop over here, yeah. And so these app images are located in our local bin folder. So I could actually just jump into my Thunar here, go into File System, USR, and then Local, and then Bin. And then we can see a bunch of different items. Like here we got our Only Office app image, Rust Desk, which is a remote desktop client there that's written in Rust. Thus the name Rust Desk. We even got KeePass XC, which is a great password manager, also in the app image here format. And so these are all the shortcuts here that go into this bin folder and has app images deposited in there. So I'm thinking that's quite cool. I just clicked on Only Office here, and we can see that open right up. Beautiful. So we can do a spreadsheet or a Word document, or beautiful theme. I like it. And it's kind of letting you know that you got a new theme there. Little tour icons to let you know what's going on. And KeePass as well, XC, which is a great password manager. This is something that has really nice security in it. You can use a passkey, pass file, key file, and have it on a separate stick if you want, or another drive, what have you. Or you can just password protect it straight up. Great encryption, lots of security for keeping your passwords in a secure place. Something much better than keeping it in a Excel sheet or something. Or a text file, even worse. If you are one of those people dumb enough to keep all your passwords in a text file, remember to name it something that wouldn't be, obvious, like call it, this is not my passwords.txt. That way, when people look at it, they'll be like, oh, okay, can't be that one. Where else could it be? So let's see what else is. I think this is pretty lightweight by default. I see the HP Device Manager is installed by default. And that kind of reminds me, when I was in the live version, I saw this StormOS system tool, and I was really impressed with this. I just had a quick look at it before I installed. And it's got a ton of stuff in here, a lot of utilities. So this is really a very comprehensive list. Under maintenance, we can refresh our mirrors just with a click of the button. And then in the tooltips there, you get a quick rundown of what this is all about. And then we got our system updates, so we could run that and do updates. We can do AUR updates. Keyring updater. Occasionally keyrings have to be updated, sometimes in Arch, and also renewed, so you can renew it here. Really nice. You can install TeamViewer, which is a proprietary app, and so easy access to get that on there in case you need TeamViewer for whatever reason, especially if you need support somewhere. A lot of times they'll ask you to put that on. Very nice. Install LS hardware, I2C tools, NVIDIA drivers, and then the NVIDIA 390XX version. So really cool. Then over here you got game utilities, so you can quickly install Steam Native, Heroic Launcher, Lutris, Proton, lots of stuff. Bottles, so if you want to install bottles, and even shows you how it's going to be executed. So using the yay command, Warpinator, Calculator, Flame Shot, Transmission, which is a Flame Shot, which is a screenshot utility, Transmission, which is a torrent downloader, Thunderbird, an email client, Z-Editor, Only Office, which we already have installed. But if you don't want the app image version for some reason, you can install it here and get the regular binary, media stream, and minimize the tray. And then over here on this tab, we got our printers. So easy install of the printers, so I can add HP drivers here, cups, and so forth. If this was hooked up to my main computer right now, I have an HP printer, so I would probably just click enable cups and then HP drivers, and I'd be all set. Here we have Arch at University. So we got a ton of things here. We got Arch commands, wiki, the website, Pac-Man guide. Everything you could possibly want to know is probably in here. Also got quick access to logging out, system resources, updating. That's the update utility. Add remove software. So that would be a shortcut to Octopi. And then, of course, about. So we have our Discord, Distro Watch, GoFundMe. So that's a good way to fund the project. GoFundMe, also Patreon, to get some nice benefits for being part of the StormOS family. And then, of course, a direct link to the StormOS website and a README. So a very nice utilities package there. We also up here have a message from Seeker. So that's kind of interesting. I think I'll open that.
Hi, everybody. This is Seeker. I just thought I'd welcome you all to the new StormOS. Hoping you enjoy it. Within the last few days, we actually made some modifications. I made modifications to my browser, cleaned this up, and helped Ben, reorganize some of the code. So with that said, please enjoy StormOS, and I hope you have a safe and happy rest of the day. Take care, guys.
Very good. That's cool. It even closed itself. It went up there and hit the stop button and it closed. I like that. Nice touch. Good job, Seeker. So, yeah, that was interesting. A nice little touch I've never seen before in a distro. Just some of the other items down here, just to be complete. Here's our updater. So it is actually showing 8 available updates. So I could actually click on that and run the updater, and it looks like it's opening up. So it's opening up Pamac, and so it'll run that and run the updater through Pamac. So that's always something that you can kind of refer to. So if you see that little guy down there with a blue dot, it's open and updating. Then we got our Ethernet connections here, and the update was successful. And if we wanted to, we could go over here to browse and just install applications visually here. If you'd rather do it that way than the console, which most people probably do. So if I want to just install something like Inkscape or GIMP or whatever, easy peasy. And there's RetroArch, which is pretty awesome. It's a front-end emulator for game engines and media player and all that cool stuff. And of course, if you want to look for something specific, just hit the little search bar up here and you can just type in whatever you want and it'll find it for you just like that. Boom. And by clicking on it, you can get more details. And then here you can see your install button to install it. Any dependencies or file information you have access if you need to. And then pictures, some graphics of the software and things that you can do in it. So that's quite cool. And of course, Blender is so feature rich. There's the video editing utility like you see here and modeling and animating, rigging, I guess that would be there. It looks like they're rigging a model there. Creating a model and default Blender monkey. So yeah, that's Pamac. We got to check the updater and the software all at the same time. Then we got our volume control here for our microphone and our speaker and quick access to the audio mixer just by clicking the button there. And we can see our output, recording settings, playback, and input devices. And then finally configuration. So if you hook this up to something else, you could change the input if you had to do that, like maybe to another monitor. You might need to change that to an HDMI for audio. Then we got our power settings here, our notifications, presentation mode here in our power settings. If you don't want the screensaver to come on or your screen lock or anything, presentation mode is handy, inspired by people that like to do PowerPoints. And then here we have our calculator and our clock. And then finally over here, our power center, which will bring up our little power dialog here for logging out, shutting down, restarting, suspending, and all that other good stuff. And then, of course, if I right-click over on your clock, I can go into Properties and take a look at the time zone properties. You can show the week numbers in the calendar. I didn't remember seeing that, but there they are, right here off on the left-hand side here. Very cool. And then, of course, our layout, our tooltip format. So when we hover over, it shows you the complete day, month, and year on the date. Like it. And then, of course, thing I like about XFCE is you can adjust the clock font here, which I think is really cool. And the format easy to change. So if I wanted to go 24-hour format, I could do that. Or If I want to show seconds, I could pop up here and instantly we got seconds showing. If I want the font to be bold or bigger or smaller, I can do all that right in here. I can select bold. 13 is a great size for this, so I wouldn't change that, but you could make it like really massive if you wanted to, and then hit select, and it would become really massive. Or you can make it really tiny, especially if you just want to mess with someone. You could it looks like it goes down to 8 is all. So yeah, I guess you could mess with them too hard, but that's pretty tiny. So yeah, you could still mess with someone enough to at least get a rise out of them anyways. If they weren't around, change their clock and shrink it. They'll be like, what's up with my clock? But anyway, I'm going to put it back where it was. I think they had it at 13. I'm going to just keep that at bold. I really like my clock with a bold font. And that's one thing I really like about XFCE. Very easy to change your clock settings in here. Turn on seconds, turn it off, have bold fonts, big fonts, little fonts, and different fonts. I could put a different font in there altogether, which is a real bonus. And if I right click here on the panel, I can also go into panel preferences. So if I wanted to modify the panel, I can do that right here. And now you can see the panel is highlighted in red to show you that it's being edited. And we could unlock the panel. Why would we want to do that? Well, maybe we want our panel somewhere else. We can just, down here at the end, we got this little tag that appeared when I unlocked the panel. And so that means you can move this guy. Just grab the tag here and just slide it up. Or if I want it off on the side, I could do that as well just by changing the mode here. So instead of horizontal, I could go vertical and have it like this. Or if that looks a little too awkward, I could change it into desk bar. And then it takes away the text and looks a little less awkward, except the time you can't really see on the fly. But, that's all right. That's what vertical is for. So lots of choices there. And I think I'm going to go back to horizontal. I like it in XFCE. The bottom is just fine, although I like the top as well. And then if I wanted to move things around, since I'm in edit mode, I could just come over here and let's say I wanted the clock for some reason closer to the middle. I could just right click over the clock, select move, and then I can just move my mouse around anywhere and maybe bring it over here and click. And now my clock's over here. But I really like it over there. So I'm going to move it again. I'm just going to click move and then drag my mouse over here. But I'm not holding the mouse button down. I'm just moving my mouse. And then click. And it's back. Just like that. I also like having the show desktop icon. So in these panel preferences, I could just come over here and select items. You can also, a shortcut to items is you can just simply right click on your panel here and then under panel, go to add new items and it'll take you directly to here. So that's another shortcut if you don't want to go into edit mode. So in here, I can choose from a bunch of different things here. What you're seeing now are the items that correspond to what's already on the taskbar. But if I want to get more stuff, I just click add. And then I got all these other things here. Launchers, separators, app menus. And of course, we already got a lot of these. The ones that are grayed out here are available. So if I hit show desktop, actually it's probably not grayed out. It's probably just something. And then just hit add. It appears right down here. Everything shows up in the lower right-hand corner by default when you click it. So if you want to move it somewhere else, you can simply do what we did before, right-click and select move and move it to wherever you'll like it. I like the show desktop right there, so that's good. We could add in the trash applet if we wanted to. A dock-like taskbar is kind of nice too. That's can give you window previews like you have in Windows. And I accidentally closed that, but I think I was pretty much done anyway. I guess if I was going to add something else in there, I could add in a weather app or something, but I think you got the gist. And then, of course, if you needed to change settings in something, the required settings, then all you would have to do is click on the item that you wanted to modify, like maybe the status tray. You can come down here and hit this little icon, and it will edit the item, and you can set the settings in here just like that, easy peasy. If you needed to adjust things, like this is a sys tray notifier, so if I wanted to, I could hide some of these. For example, if I didn't want the Optimus manager to be sitting in the sys tray, I could click this and it would disappear. Those are things I wouldn't really change anyway. I think the sys tray is just fine the way it is by default. But that is a look. And now that I closed out of the settings, you can see that the red bars are gone. But this little handle is still there because I forgot to lock it. So if I go back into panel preferences, I can hit lock panel, and that's not a bad thing to have activated. That way that little handle is gone there and taking up less space, and you can't accidentally grab it with your mouse and move it somewhere like the middle of your screen. That's a good way to fake yourself out if you're not used to navigating in XFCE. And then here under our settings, we got the usual stuff here. Add, remove software, appearance settings, which we were in earlier, color profiles, desktop, which we were in. So all the usual stuff that you have here. And then, of course, the shortcut to our StormOS system tool, which we were in earlier. Settings Manager, which also is a shortcut here on this icon. By clicking that, it'll also open up your Settings Manager. And these correspond to the settings category that we were just in. And easy access to Thunar preferences. That's our file manager. Typically when I'm in Thunar preferences, I change the date format from today to today at. And then that way I have a more accurate accounting for newly created files. I can tell how long ago I created those files. And for me, that's just a convenience thing. Another thing I like to do in Thunar is I like to go over here under View and then Side Pane. I like to check the image preview. I like to be able to preview images when I click on them and you can see them show up over here. Another thing I like to do is sometimes when I'm in List View, I like to be able to adjust these columns here and slide them over, because sometimes if you have a window that's sized the way this window is and not maximized, then sometimes if you have long file names in here, your date modified column is out of view and you got to go slide over with your scroller and then bring date modified into view and slide it over. But then the next time you start up, for example, if I slide that way over there, close Thunar, and then open it back up again, it's way back over here and it'll be back out of visibility again. So if you wanted to keep your settings when you adjust your columns, then you got to turn off the auto expand. So for example, if I slide these over, just for an example, and I go to View and then go to Configure Columns, here I can uncheck automatically expand columns as needed and close that. Now, if I close this, the date modified and the type should stay squished together there when I open it again. So close it, open it up, and they're still squished together. So there you go. That's another setting I like to do by default. And as I'm clicking around here, everything feels very snappy, really nice and fresh. Here's our system settings. We got time shift. So very handy if you want to back up your configuration. So if you run an update and Arch happens to hose your computer after an update, time shift will get you back to a point where you were when it worked. And all will be well in the land once again. Yay! And then here we got our printer manager, which is handy. So I am liking this. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so we can actually see the folders. And I'm going to hide the dot files again. There we go. That looks prettier. and maybe just shrink that down a little bit. But I think this completes the overview. And Ben, slow clap. Very well done. So I think you did accomplish your goals here of getting app images more integrated into here, making it smaller, more reliable, and fast. It does feel very fast. It feels like XFCE at its finest. And so I'm liking that feeling a lot. StormOS just seems to get better every time I get in here and look at it. And if I was running XFCE full time, I think this would probably be my distro of choice because it's just set up the way I typically would set something up anyway. And I like the fact that I got easy access to these app images. I think having especially Google Chrome in an app image and then Rust Desk here, which is a really nice remote desktop tool, and Wayland ready. So when XFCE goes Wayland full time, we are ready. Because Rust Desk can rise to the occasion. Because if I remember correctly, Rust Desk is kind of the answer to the remote desktop problems that people were having in Wayland. So I am liking everything. I just don't have any complaints. I tried. I'd like to find one, Ben, but sorry, I don't have any. So yes, excellent A+ score here from what I am seeing. And theoretically, I could actually just install this on my home computer and even run Hyperland on the side because we got a really nice foundation here. And if I remember right, StormOS is even in the DistroWatch website now. It's getting up there. That means it's getting more prominent, and rightfully so. So if you haven't really played with StormOS yet, especially if you like XFCE, I think you're going to really like the way the XFCE is configured here. And I think it's got a really slick, modern look. Vanilla XFCE looks kind of like an old computer from the early 2000s. Ben has done a really nice job at ricing this up to look modern and give it just a really fantastic look here, and something that would appeal to most any user, especially if they were coming over from Windows. There's nothing at all intimidating in here that I can see. And then if you get really bored, you can jump through the StormOS Familia Stargate and find out where you end up. Well, maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but, give it a try. I give this my double thumbs up stamp of approval. And also, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Thumbs ups are really great for the algorithm, and they help the channel a lot. So that's a great way to contribute without having to spend a dime. And if you want to spend a dime, tap that buy me a coffee thing in my link in the description. And when you're done, don't forget to hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.